Well, thank you for joining the Grim and Bloody Theater. I hope you're having a good time watching the various shorts and features as part of the Death Parade Film Fest in 2021. I know we're having a great time talking to various esteemed filmmakers who took the time and submitted their work to the festival. And we're happy to bring a few of them on. And hopefully you enjoy this additional content and you get to hear about some of the behind the scenes and some of the more quality works. So for this episode, we have OJ Hansen, writer and director of Mr. Voki. Thank you for coming on, OJ.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate this. This is great.
Yes. And we're going to assume that everyone has watched the film, although with Eventive, you do have the ability to go watch this and then the film. But we're going to assume here that you've already watched it and you're just interested in finding more about it. So right off the bat, I thought Mr. Voki was evocative. The setting was great. He came off as this, when you were building the tension, it was thick, it was palpable. It kind of had me gripping my armchair a little bit the first time I was watching. I'm like, I don't know where this is going, but whenever I see a child in a position of danger, real danger, like the supernatural, especially anyone who has kids, you kind of feel like, oh man, what are they going to do? Because they're completely helpless, right? They can't defend themselves against this. But she had a nice approach where she was trying to placate the demon, through, putting up the ball, or she was kind of trying to hold her ground a little bit. So she had some gumption, and she had a system where if she was taken, their parents would be able to find her through the toys. I thought that was pretty ingenious. It was almost like, I'm going to hold my ground, but just in case I'm gone, because I know I'm a little stature of a little thing, you can still find me through the toys. So why don't you talk a little bit about your inspiration for Mr. Voki, and we'll go from there.
Actually, the inspiration came from my producer is Armenian, and the lead actor in it, one of she plays the mom, is also Armenian. And so I hadn't heard much about the Armenian genocide and what had happened. And so I'd worked with her on all of my films, my producer. And so I just kind of thought, this would be a great thing to kind of get out there, because I hadn't heard about it whatsoever. So I thought it would be a great way to get it out there and to have other people see it. And I think horror is such a great vehicle to do, honestly, express anything. And I just watched it, and I can't remember the name of the movie. It's awful, but it was about immigrants who came over to the United States. It was about trafficking, but they used the monster as this vehicle to be this like haunted house type situation. It's just so wonderful that horror is able to do that, while other genres can't really hit that. You can't hit that mark. So I really enjoyed that. And with my producers, I just thought, what a great concept to take something horrifying that did happen, that is in real life. And while we all sit in our chairs in the movie theater, we kind of can go home safe knowing there is no real monster in the closet. But the fact that after hearing all these stories, we have absolutely real monsters in the world today, that I thought that was almost scarier than any silly monster that I could have made up. And so that's kind of where I started from it. At the end of the day, also, I had a new camera. I was like, hey, let's go shoot something. I did not expect, this is one of those short films, I didn't expect anything to come out of this. I was like, we'll shoot something real quick. I got to the location. I hadn't even seen it. I'd seen it through some photos. And so we got there, and I just had a whole bunch of production design, because that's what I majored in at LA Film School. So I knew how to cover myself in case for whatever happened, because we shot that during the day, but I put blue shower curtains up on the windows at night, so we got to play with that, so it looked like a night shoot. And we kind of just showed up and just shot and had some fun with it, and something turned out. I've done, I think, 4 or 5 short films, and this has been my most successful one so far as festivals go. And to be a part of this festival is just awesome, and I'm so excited. So it was a really cool outcome from something you didn't expect. While other films I've done, I planned months in advance, and this one we just kind of went in there and winged it. And the lights on the bed came off great. The little bed frame that we had put up, everything just kind of came off. And that little spinny light, I made it the day before out of a jewelry spinner. It lights up, and I just did some paper on the outside. And I was like, this looks like crap. Of course a kid would make this. This would be perfect. And it worked out. Everything kind of worked out on it. So it was just one of those, the whole movie was almost a happy accident, but it was well planned. I mean, ultimately, when you get down to it, there was a lot of thought that did go into it. So that's kind of where I came up with the idea. And I actually had an idea of turning it into a feature. because everybody really did enjoy it. And Nora, the lead actor, she was so good. She was scary good. I almost felt bad. It was only a short. And I was like, can you stop growing? Stay just like you are. Because even in between takes, it was so dark in that room that I couldn't see the clapperboard. I couldn't see anything. I was just like, I'll just edit and I'll just figure it out. But she actually had her little flashlight and she would shine it on there. I didn't ask her to do this. Oh. She was super smart. And it was the most adorable moment that I didn't get filmed, was because she was helping us out the entire time. She was just an absolute blast. Everything worked out great. It's just one of those weird things, because usually I'm always complaining about how horrible everything was. This one, I didn't have those issues. And that's just kind of the joy of movie making, I guess.
That's awesome. I do have a quick question. How long did it take you to film it?
We had 1 prep day and 2 shoot days.
Oh, geez.
And yeah, we had Nora for a day and a half. I had to get her off to another shoot. So we were rushing, and with a brand new camera, I mean, I was so stupid. I'm used to shooting, I shot on the Sony A1. I'm used to shooting on Sony's, but this camera, they had a brand new menu system. So I was kind of like, what is going on in this menu system? So I was kind of working around that while working with her, but I was so grateful because she was so good on knowing every single line, every little blocking she was able to nail. So I had a lot of help from her, and it was just a lot of fun. But it did take, we got 2 days and then 1 prep day in the location, and that's all we really had. But it looks like that's all we really needed. So it worked out great.
I want to ask you about the one thing that stood out for me, the yarn idea that you use, as we were talking about the little girl creating the trail, so that the parents could find her if something should happen. Was there a significance to using the color red?
Absolutely.
Or was that a color contrast for filming purposes, or was there?
It was exactly used as almost the Armenian bloodline that was severed at that moment, but she continued on. So we had all these little pieces of yarn that were tied together. And so that was kind of the idea, was you might sever one, but she's got a whole bunch of this that's linking up these family members. So there was a lot of significance to that concept. And I think in the credits, what I was going to do, but I ran out of time because I wanted to make sure and get it submitted to places, I was going to have yarn coming through the credits and having it all kind of tied together, but I didn't get to do that, unfortunately. But yeah, the red was essentially kind of like the bloodline, literally, is what I was kind of referencing with that of the Armenian people. And so that was the significance of it.
Well, it reminded me a little bit about Poltergeist, how they were putting the yarn in through... towards the end of the movie, they were putting the yarn in through
that's
to get
right,
to the other side. And I'm like, well, that's kind of nice homage, but that yours is much better.
And you look,
I like that.
You look too. Red is the only, the yarn is the only thing that's red in the film.
Absolutely. We didn't keep anything else red. Absolutely. No. I think the ball too. The ball was red, and then the yarn. And those were the only 2 things we had. Everything had this really cool, almost like what was the ride at Disneyland, the Mr. Toad's Wild Ride? It had this black light look, and I was so thrilled with how it came out, because going into it, I was like, we're gonna kind of wing this, and I've done a lot of cinematography, but this it turned out exactly how I thought it was gonna turn out. It was great.
And the interesting thing is, you talked about how you can tell a story of social violence within a horror film. You join a lot of great filmmakers who have done that. Who have told. George Romero, we talked about, used Night of the Living Dead as a take on racism.
And Pan's Labyrinth.
Pan's
Labyrinth did fascism and the Spanish Civil War, I believe it was. But yeah, that's kind of one of the main themes, I think, with horror, is that they're able to use it in so many different ways.
Right.
Even though it's the same monster, but it can represent so many things. I think it was the Bada book, and I may have mispronounced it, but that had something.
Babadook.
Babadook. I forget what that was on, grief or loss, I believe. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah,
but I think it was.
It's pretty much grief and loss. Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's still a monster, but there's so much more to it when you can dig into it. There was also a new movie, which it kind of missed a bit, but I thought it was cool. Empty Man was also something else. I'm still wrapping my head around exactly what that movie was about, but the fact that you could take the same genre and you can add so much depth to it just by using symbolism and putting a different type of significance on things is something that's really amazing with it. And that's why I love horror, because you can do that. With, you know, romantic comedies, you can only do so much. You know, there's only so many punch-drunk loves out there. Everything else just ends up
Thank
being...
God. Thank God.
I'll tell you one thing. Speaking of Pan's Labyrinth, I went to see that with someone who was from Eastern Europe.
Mhm.
And boy, did that movie have an impact on her. The sociopathic father there. So, and all. These were people she knew personally. Characters that she knew, people that were just like that in her life.
Mhm.
So that had a huge effect on her. And I imagine people off where this film is talking about will have quite a opinion on it as well.
I hope so.
Yeah, you never want to make a statement piece where everyone is like, I don't know. You want a reaction, and I think you're going to get that. That's
that's awesome. Thank you. I do appreciate that. I hope there is reaction. All of my films have always taken a typically abrasive approach, especially at the end. It always takes you someplace, and I enjoy the films that especially you wonder where exactly you're going when you're starting off. Like, it seemed like it was just gonna be a typical, you know, horror story, and that's what I kind of wanted it to be in the beginning. Oh, it's a monster in the closet. How kind of cliche, but the fact that you could switch it up and make it just a couple little tweaks here and there and make it mean so much more is what again makes this the horror genre so special compared to other things. But absolutely. I'm happy it got done.
No, I truly enjoyed the monster, who, you know, like as Anthony had mentioned previously, how he was the anti-hero, even though when the little girl, who was, as I said, was also very good in her role. And it was so cute to see their interaction, you know, and you're thinking, oh, what's going to happen, you know? And that's why I kind of was like thinking, hey, I hope they continue on with this little storyline to see what,
I hope so.
You know,
That
what
would be
happens
awesome
to the little girl.
Did anyone notice too the little girl at the, you know, in the closet? She doesn't start crying about her dad getting killed or mom getting raped and killed. She looks like she's more in shock.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then she actually turns slightly to embrace the demon, Mr. Voki. That was like just a few minutes before she was scared out of her pants, about now she's embracing. I think it's so registered nicely in the actress's mind, face, just what was going on outside versus what was not going on in the closet. And she saw who the real demons were. It's really remarkable performance.
I think, Kevin, you teased it earlier, OJ, that Mr. Voki, maybe it wasn't the intention, but the finished product screams feature. And we don't say that often, guys, do we? Like, once we watch a short, we're like, that was good, right? And we move on. Like, you know, that was a nice piece of work. Yeah. That was an excellent effort. But we don't say, wow, that was definitely the first piece in what can easily be, you know, a feature film, because his motivations, it's just not what you expect. And you could see Mr. Voki kind of taking, you know, on, maybe it's his purpose, maybe this is not what he wanted to do, maybe he can even, you know, time travel, visit these different, you know, tragic points in times and rescue these children, and maybe they have a story to tell later on. Maybe they don't talk about Mr. Voki, you know, how did you survive that disaster? Well, I can't really talk about it, right? He becomes a myth. He's like this you're like almost, I don't want to say Venom, that's cheesy, but he could be this kind of underpinning for all these boys and girls who, you know, otherwise didn't have a chance. It can be taken so many different ways. How
did he come to be?
How did he come to be? Maybe he's not even from here. But it gets my mind going. It gets my imagination churning. Like, God, because that's what I wanted to create with one of my shows. Like that's what I wanted that you achieved. So hats off to you. I'd give you a high five, OJ, if I can see, because that you did what I was trying to do. But you obviously had a lot better skill at it. And thank you for allowing us to screen it.
Anthony, and OJ, I'll tell you, I want to know, what the tragedies that happened in Mr. Voki's existence that got him to where he is now, the protector of children.
I think we have. I ended up doing a treatment because again, this came out. It was so well received by a lot of people that people that worked out were like, "Wow, we made that from like 2.5, 3 days of shooting," and I was like, "Yeah." So I've got a full treatment on this ready to go. Mm-hmm. It's just I had another feature in line that my first one is coming up here, and so I kind of had to decide on what we were going to do with both of these. But I love the fact that you guys are supportive of a feature, because I would love Mr. Voki to be a feature. I think we have a lot of the Michael Myers and the evil bad guys, but to have an anti-hero monster creature, I don't really see too often. I mean, who do you have? Freddy Krueger became kind of an anti-hero, but in such a negative, evil way. But to have somebody actually good, and Venom, I mean, as cheesy as
he's like the closest one I can think of.
Yeah. At the same time, he's still got something. He's got good vibes to him. So I mean, I totally get that, and I appreciate that. But I would love to extend it.
Spawn is one that I think of.
Yeah,
Spawn would be, Spawn.
But we just covered all of them in less than a hand. See.
Yeah,
that's how unique I think Mr. Voki is, and he wasn't that horrifying to look for. Although the setup makes the ending all the more enriching, because the setup you think this is the classic boogeyman, right? The hands coming out, right? The malformed shape in the closet when he rises to his full height, right? This is all the stuff that we're used to seeing. So we know what's going to happen next. And then he doesn't assault the girl. He offers her a ball, right? He protects her. So, wherever way you want to take it, I think you're definitely sitting on something golden here.
I absolutely appreciate it. And I hope I can take him further, especially while Nora's still at that same age where she's able to just nail it, because she was so good. I just want to write for her all day long, because she's that amazing to be able to get to work with.
Well, here's what you do. You have the bit where of course Mr. Voki, while he may be the closet monster, he's terrified of the real monsters outside that are coming in the house. And who's to say? Maybe you have to come back to this a little bit later when she comes back.
Oh,
deal with monsters. Now
I like that.
Yeah, now she's been in Mr. Voki's realm, so she's not exactly a little girl anymore. She's something else.
Ooh, that sounds cool too. I'm liking all these ideas. We need to get together and just pump this script out real quick.
So it's not a show; it's a brainstorming session.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. We're done with the show. Session. We got index cards going.
That's
I don't know if you're gonna, OJ. I don't know if you're gonna use our brains. You may not be getting real far. You may not be getting real far.
I like it. No, I love the ideas. The ideas are great. They sound great. I'm excited. I don't want to do what I'm doing now with my feature coming up. I'm ready to work on this. Let's just jump on board. You guys got me excited.
Apply us with alcohol, and we'll give you even better ideas.
Oh yeah, they keep flowing until the next day. You're like, what did I write? This doesn't make any sense. Oh, there you go.
What did we get involved with?
I'm good to go here. I've got a whole short that I wrote out the other night for Anthony here, and he won't let me make it.
Oh, why not, Anthony?
He doesn't like
Ouija board.
It has to do with a Ouija board. These guys just don't listen.
Is that just a taboo? No, we just don't mess with that.
I love horror. I've grown up on her. I saw Aliens when I was 6 years old in theaters. Thanks, Mom and Dad. But I don't screw with Ouija boards. That shit's too real.
Oh.
And we're thinking about leaving one at his doorstep. If
it happens, I know
have strings attached to it.
You glue it. The key is you glue it to the doorstep. Then he can't get rid of it.
A little epoxy there. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, epoxy. Yeah, we'll get that. We'll get that hammered in.
Al wrote a great script for it, and it was just could be done in 2 weeks.
Oh,
and Anthony's just going, no,
no,
leave me alone.
One good day.
Never happened.
Put off the Black Magic 6 and I'm good to go.
But OJ, you mentioned that you're working on another feature. Is that anything you're able to talk about now, or is it still totally in the
yeah. Actually, the film's called Death and Life. It takes place in purgatory, and it essentially is Death, or the Grim Reaper, is burying the dead all day long, and he buries them in this coffin that takes it into the further afterlife. And the coffin is stolen by this old man who escaped when Death tried to take him. And so Death loses his powers and starts to turn human, and has to enlist the help of a corpse who he hates, but then falls in love with, and has to decide between being human or being immortal and all powerful as they go back and try and get this coffin back.
Cool.
Wow.
And we're shooting the whole thing in infrared. So we're using infrared photography techniques, and we're shooting the whole thing in infrared, and it's very exciting. I mean, it's a big project. It's no Mr. Voki. Mr. Voki was fun, and it was cool because it was like so compact in this one area, and this is more of a nightmare, but it's like hopefully it comes out really cool, but we'll see. But it has a similar vibe where the Grim Reaper is an anti-hero. I really like those concepts of taking something, the Grim Reaper is so scary, and you kind of flip it on its head. And I've made him almost so omnipotent and Shakespearean in a sense that he's kind of ridiculous because everybody else is like modern. So it's just this kind of like in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure when Napoleon went to San Dimas. And it was just kind of ridiculous how he was trying to talk and fit in with everybody else. That's kind of the concept that kind of comes out as he's slowly turning human. So that's the project I'm working on now. We're shooting in a month and a half, so we're coming up to it. But
good luck.
I've got a coffin.
Like, what's that?
I've got a coffin.
Oh, you do?
Hers too.
Oh, real? Like a real coffin?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Is anybody in it? Is there somebody still in it, or like?
You cannot.
One only knows. One only knows. You know.
It's more Jose Cuervo in that coffin. I can tell. It's a refrigerator.
There we go. Like that.
Well, I want to thank you, OJ, for coming on and spending some time with us and talking about Mr. Voki. It was an excellent short, and congratulations on all your success. And keep us in mind when you're close to wrapping your feature. We'd love to hear more about it and screen a trailer and bring you on. We'll talk about it a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can count on that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
And bring some Jose Cuervo and coffins.
That's it. That's what we're doing.
That's it.
Let's do this.
I know I'm with writers when that happens. When somebody's got the Jose Cuervo, I'm like, yeah, a bunch of writers. I can tell.
Yeah.
It's like the movie 1802. Do you drink? I said I was a writer, didn't I?
That's right. Yeah. It's exactly the same thing. I love it. I
Very
love
nice.
that.
I love it.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys for
Hold
joining
on.
us. You got one more?
No, we forgot to mention, OJ, where can people find you?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
Joe.
You can find me on Instagram, just OJ Hansen. I don't think there's any periods in the name, so just OJ Hansen. You can also find me on Vimeo, and I believe I'm under Cotton Candy Garbage. That's my production company, Cotton Candy Garbage Productions. So you
Which
should
is
be able to
now
find me
my
on
favorite
Vimeo.
name for a production company. It really, Cotton Candy Garbage.
Cotton Candy Garbage.
I love cotton candy at the
Yeah.
movie theater and at the amusement park, but it just like wreaks havoc with your teeth and everything.
Oh, everything.
And it is garbage. It's just spun sugar.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That's all it really is.
That's-
That's
yeah.
all it is.
but it's addicting. You love it.
And it keeps going.
Yeah.
It just, you can't stop with the stuff. It's
No.
impossible to not like it, but at the
Yeah, you
same
just
time,
keep
you hate
eating until
yourself
the
for
bag
it.
is empty.
Yeah.
Where's the vinegar again?
But thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, OJ, for coming
So
on.
welcome.
Appreciate your time. And that was Mr. Voki with writer and director OJ Hansen. And thank you again for attending the Death's Parade Film Festival 2021. Happy to have you here, and go out and enjoy more shorts.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.